Today's guest is a powerhouse of purpose. He helps families and individuals build lasting transformation through the blend of spiritual wisdom, emotional intelligence, and habit driven growth. With over a decade of real life leadership in marriage, parenting, and personal development, he's been in the trenches and leads with experience, not theory. If you're ready to move from survival mode to a life of clarity and commitment, buckle up because he brings the tools that makes changes stick. Please welcome Brennan Falks.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for giving us your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
In today's episode, I wanted to start off with an online question, right? This is a post that I saw online with someone talking about their problems. It's anonymous. I don't know who posted it, but I wanted to see your take on it and what you would advise this person. This is what they say. My ex and I were together for 3 years. I feel like his insecurities, in brackets, that stemmed from past relationships and childhood, end of brackets, and lack of boundaries was a big part of us ending. I was there for him to a certain point when I suggested therapy to dig into his childhood and insecurities. He was open to it, but didn't make a real move in the 1.5 years we talked about it. I tried to be patient. I had been in therapy myself to work on communication and self-care and applied it to our relationship. We broke up a month ago. I sent messages and took accountability for everything I felt like I did to cause it to end. Nothing on his side, besides a random 2 a.m. accidental call. We both thought we were the one, wanted kids, marriage, started building a house. How do you know when to wait and hope he comes back and works on himself and us, or when to let go?
That's tough. There's a lot to unpack there. I would say, first of all, that taking the approach that you took, whoever you are, relating to seeking therapy and digging into past traumas and figuring out all of the things that contribute to his own personal growth, I would say that that's a really good step in the right direction. You bringing that up and mentioning that is exactly what would keep a lasting relationship long lasting. If, however, you're growing and you're doing those things and he is unwilling, you're going to have a conflict where you're developing and growing in your own life and you're outpacing him so much that the two of you can no longer collaborate on hardly anything. And that tends to be exactly what happens, whether it's a spousal relationship or a friendship or even a family dynamic situation with cousins or brothers or sisters or whatever. When you start outpacing someone so much in your own personal growth that they are not able to keep up, or they just simply aren't taking initiative to keep up, you're stuck with a really tough decision. And so ultimately the question was, how do you know when to wait or to move on? I definitely would remind me, if I remember correctly, it's been 2 months now since the breakup.
So it's been a month.
1 month, okay. I would take a significant amount of time. When I say significant, I mean like 6 months or more before you start looking toward moving on away from this whole scenario. Because this little bit of space, assuming that you're both faithful and you're both trying to work on things, can allow him to see maybe some of the things that he wasn't seeing when he had the comfort of you being there and knowing that he didn't necessarily need to change. Now, with this little bit of separation, a little bit of distance, and a moment of clarity, there's a really good chance that he's going to see, hey, okay, I can realize the parts of me that need work, and I can start working on them. And then in the circumstance that he starts doing that, then obviously it would make sense for you guys to reconvene and continue on that journey of growth together.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that came up for me when I was reading this is when you are the one pursuing and you are the one doing the growth and you're the one taking accountability, there's a dynamic that gets created where there's one pursuing and one trying to run away. And the more you try to do it, the more they feel power in the situation. So one of the things that for me would be, if you're working on yourself, part of the work needs to be about being okay with this person not coming back. Because can you see a life that you're not happy with being with this person? Let's say this person never changes. Do you still want to be with this person? If not, at what point are you willing to cut the cord? What point is it over? And if you keep working on yourself, you're inevitably going to become a person that he is not going to recognize. He's not even going to feel like this was the person I got connected to. And you may feel like I'm doing everything on my end, but it's going to end at some point.
Yeah, I agree. Eventually, to summarize everything, as you're growing, you are becoming a new person, and so that's going to take shape in multiple different ways throughout your journey. And if you're
Yeah,
not doing that together on the same page with somebody, just like you said, you're gonna become somebody that's unrecognizable to him, and that's not because what you're doing is bad or wrong. That's just because he's not taking the initiative to do the same thing.
right.
What I would do to navigate is I would continue to encourage that growth in him. I would continue to encourage him to take that initiative and start doing some of that work that you're picking up on. I know part of what was said was bracketed, meaning that it's an inclination, so to speak. And so I would continue to try to navigate that. Obviously, you want to navigate it with diplomacy and gentleness, but I would continue to encourage working on his self. And if he starts to take some steps in that direction, then you can start thinking about a future again.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Thank you for the advice. I would love to know your journey so far and what's led you to this point. Because I know it's been 11 years and you've faced so many different things. What are the key points in your journey so far?
Yeah, yeah. So married 11 years. Key points. I've just had a lot of changes in my worldview, changes in my life, the things that I was taught or raised to do versus what I actually do. A lot of humility, a lot of difficult lessons learned, and throughout that process, there's been a lot of self inventory that I have taken, and throughout that journey, there's been a lot of growth and learning as well. And what the ironic thing that happens is when you start to take self inventory, you start to realize that you're forced to either look the thing that is a problem right in the face and change it, or continue on in complete arrogance, knowing that the thing that you're doing is not the best thing that you could be doing. And so the more frequently you're taking this self inventory and the more frequently you're just analyzing yourself and making sure that you're being the best person that you can be, whether it's for your children or for your spouse or for your family members or whatever your career is, as long as you continue doing that, you're going to continue to see the areas where you can improve. And so that has been a huge majority of my journey, has been, where are the areas that I can improve? What are the things that I've been taught? What are the things that I do but I don't necessarily understand why I do them? Where am I just kind of on autopilot? And at what point is it necessary to break something that has been going on for generations?
Did something happen that kind of triggered you on this path?
Yeah, there's been several things that happened. One of the main things that happened is when I was 20 years old, I got very sick. I had a gallbladder infection.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry.
yeah, it was very scary. It was a very difficult time, and I
Yeah.
had my diagnosis was to have my gallbladder removed. Um, I have always been a little bit wary of the entire medical system and not necessarily completely on board with everything that's presented, and so I got a second opinion from a natural physician. And through that second opinion, I realized that I could actually clean up a lot of what was going on inside my body through nutrition and better sleep habits and all those types of things. And so I did exactly that, and I was able to cure myself of the gallbladder infection, and I still have my gallbladder today. Through that journey, though, I realized that, here I am exercising every day, but eating very poorly. And a lot of life tends to go that way, where you're doing some things correctly, you're doing some things the right way, but you're doing other things that just completely destroy all of the effort and work that you're putting into another area. Another thing was around that same time, again, exercising constantly and wanting to be a healthier version of myself, but at the same time, I would drink alcohol on the weekends. And so it's like, well, when I learned that alcohol destroys muscle tissue, I'm working so hard to build muscle tissue and be a fit version of myself, but then, the next 5 days later, I'm just tearing all that work down. And so I have come to a lot of crossroads that have been like, man, okay, I have to make a decision. Do I want to be this better version of myself that I say I want to be? I think that's deeply within all of us, and I realize that yes, that's what I want. But if you don't ask yourself that question, and if you don't fully commit to that, then you're probably not going to get very far on the journey.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything in your relationships that made you feel like, okay, I have to take an inventory of everything now?
Yes, relationships prior to my marriage were confusing at best. There was a lot of circumstances where it's like, well, I know that I want things to go. I know that I want longevity. I know that I want a wife and kids. And, I only want to be married one time because I've watched my parents divorce. I've watched various uncles and aunts divorce and all that type of stuff. And so I know I don't want that. Yet I'm finding myself in relationships with people who are not conducive to that same goal, that same purpose. And so at some point I had to realize, well, kind of like what the opening question was about, I'm attracting the type of person that I am, and it's not working. It's not what I want. So if I want to attract a different type of person, I first have to become a different type of person. And so in that process of starting to become a different person, a better version of me, that's the moment I found my wife. And not because I was looking, just because I was attracting an entire new type of personality to be within my circle because of who I was becoming. And so, those previous relationships definitely played a part in that.
I want to kind of zoom in a little bit on something you said. You had this awareness of things that your uncles did wrong, or the previous generations did wrong, and you had the same intention. But some of the actions were translating into something else. Where was that disconnect? What was going wrong in hindsight?
I would say for me personally, there was a lot of the disconnect was I know what I want long term, but I'm too shallow and I'm too much in a hurried up position that I'm not playing that long game. I'm not thinking that far into my future. I know I want it. It's there in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
But I'm fooling myself and I'm lying to myself, telling myself, oh, I have plenty of time to figure it out and it'll work itself out and blah, blah, blah. The reality is, if I don't take personal responsibility and start right now, then that translates rather quickly to me being 45 without attracting a high quality spouse because I've played the short game for so long. So I think the disconnect was just the unwillingness to really fully commit to what was required.
So it's almost like you want this, you know you want it, but there's a voice inside that's saying, that's time, we can figure it out. It's okay, we can change it later. It's okay if we mess up now. So it almost seems like you had an awareness that the actions that you're choosing in that moment weren't helpful for the future you wanted, even before you decided, okay, I need to clean myself up.
Yeah, I can relate to the person in the initial question, because it's like, I would imagine he knows he wants something long-term and stable, but at the same time, he's just not fully committed to doing what's required of him to get there. That's exactly where I was.
Gotcha. Okay. An interesting question for you. So you were on that path, right? And you had this awareness that, these actions aren't great, but you want something more. You want a better future. Along that path, Was it a specific heartbreak? Is there a way someone can immediately right now, something they can refer to and go see, okay, this is wrong. This is why it's wrong. This is how I can know these actions for me is wrong. Some qualitative metric for them to gauge, okay.
I mean, it's difficult because it's circumstantial and every
Yeah.
situation is so nuanced, but it's, I would say it comes down to, is the person treating you the way that you want to be treated, or is the person treating you the way they want to treat you? Because those are two very different things. If my spouse has a particular way that she says she feels loved by me, right? She says, "Hey, when you help out around the house, or whatever it is, that's when I feel most loved." If I then take that information and I say, "Okay, I understand that, but I'm going to do these other things instead to prove to you that I love you," well, then I'm making it about me. And so
Right.
if your spouse, your partner, whoever they are, is doing that to you, where they're making it more about them than they are making it about you, and vice versa, if you're doing the same thing to the other person, if you're making it about what you want to do and how you want to treat them, then that would be a very high indication that there has to be some change. What that change is, again, it's very nuanced and it's situational,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
something has to change.
I was going through some of the things you talk about and some of the things on your website. You speak about listening to understand. An obvious question a lot of people will have is, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to listen to understand. I'm going to try to understand what this person is, what's their perspective. What comes after that? Once this understanding has happened.
What comes after that is, on a very deep level, you, regardless of you saying anything or having anything to say back, you can then practice empathy. Because before you understand where the other person is, it's really hard for you to have empathy for that person. So if you're listening with the intent to just respond because you want to prove your point, or you want to be right, or you really want to show them how wrong they are, whatever it is, you're unable to hear where they're coming from, and you're unable to position yourself to see things from their perspective. So what's amazing that happens after you do that is you can look at something without your own bias, and you can say, maybe you say something like, "Oh, I didn't realize that it was affecting you this way. I can see that. I can see how it's affecting you so negatively, and I'm sorry." And that's good enough. Maybe that's enough to move you beyond the roadblock that you're in. But if you're constantly only listening to respond and prove your case, you're always going to be at this position where you can't move past.
Got it. So what I'm trying to get to is basically, you said, okay, you understand, empathy happens. Is there a critical step after to solve the problems where people are stuck at?
I don't know if there's one critical step, but I would say that the main thing that you need to do is then start working toward a solution that works for the both of you. Because up until this point that you have started listening to understand, up until then, you've just been trying to figure out solutions that work for you.
Yeah.
You've been trying to provide solutions to the person on the other side of the conversation, on the other side of the relationship, that benefit and work for you.
Right.
And if they work for both of you, great. But the main person who's telling you that they're having a problem or is presenting something to you, you can't just provide them solutions, especially when the solutions are only to your benefit. And if
Yeah.
you're never understanding where they're coming from, then you can't work together on that.
Got it.
However, if you are working to understand, if you are listening to understand, now you can start to team up and attack this problem with the teamwork that you signed up for in the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah.
You got into
Yeah.
the relationship to tackle things as a team.
So the key role that empathy plays is it creates a team out of you guys. Instead of just finding a solution that will relieve your pain, your challenges, you now team up to make sure that the solution works for both of you.
Right. Right. And
Awesome.
a lot of times there's going to be a dynamic where the the situation cannot be resolved without both of your efforts and both of the unique characteristics that you bring to the situation.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you ever go through a point in your journey where you felt like your marriage was almost at its end point?
Where what is at its end point?
Your marriage was at its end point. Like, you're like, this is such a difficult challenge where I don't know if we'll be able to get out of this. Did you ever have that?
Well, I don't think we've gotten that close. We did have some rough patches in the beginning that we had to work through where we were just not quality teammates. We weren't looking out for each other. We didn't have the best interests for each other in mind, and we definitely were pushing closer and closer to that boundary. Fortunately for us, we were able to recognize that and take some action steps that got us completely away from there. And just basically what I'm talking about allowed us to step out of our own shoes and into the shoes of the other so that we could see the things that we were causing that were negatives. Once we did
Awesome.
that, we were able to bring things back rather quickly. And I think that that's the case for probably most couples because you're getting together initially because there is a dynamic, there is strong teamwork and camaraderie and all those things, at least in most cases. And so if you can get out of your own way enough to get back to that and just keep that kind of at the center of your relationship, then your relationship really can thrive.
Got it. Okay. So, just shifting gears a little bit, what's been a mindset shift that you still recall, that you were like, okay, I did this specifically and it almost changed the trajectory of our marriage?
Specifically, one that's very vivid and stays at the front of my mind is invalidating whatever my spouse was going through or feeling. That was something that I didn't realize was creating a problem until I practiced what I preached and listened to my wife to understand her and realized, oh, I can see how every response that I'm working up, every solution that I'm trying to provide to you, everything that I'm hoping will help you, everything I'm giving to you that I'm hoping will help you, I can see how it's actually causing you to feel like or think that I'm completely invalidating you. And so I have to change the way that I'm navigating this whole situation. It's not her. The problem is not her. I mean, she's responsible for her own thoughts and her own feelings, but I'm also responsible to not just completely neglect those thoughts and feelings.
When you say invalidating what she's doing, I'm just trying to connect what someone may be doing. Was it something like, that's not true what you're saying, or not completely understanding what the other person is saying? How would
Yeah,
that look like
yeah. So in my particular circumstance, it was a lot of not fully understanding what she was dealing with or feeling or going through, and basically just summarizing everything by saying, "Well, it'll be okay. You'll get through it." That's
yeah,
not. I'm not providing any helpful information. I'm
right?
not. I'm just kind of reducing it all to, you'll get through it.
Yeah, I, I think I get what you're saying. In my definition, that's not invalidating. That's basically you weren't able to get to the depth of what this other person's feeling. To me, when you say invalidating, it's almost like that's not true. That's not really happening. You're just imagining this,
Yeah.
and
So
that's
I,
a
I would say the
yeah,
layer of invalidation would be like, oh, it's not that bad. You'll be okay. You'll get through it.
yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. I have a fun little game that I like to play with people. It's called the last time you, and I'm going to give you a bunch of questions that is about a specific moment in your journey until this point. And if you can, when was the last time that happened to you? So here goes the first one. The last time you realized a relationship was one sided.
Um, Probably the very beginning of my marriage. So maybe 10, 10.5 years ago.
Okay, okay. The last time you totally misread a cue.
Misread a cue from the opposite sex, or what
Yeah,
do you
it can be anything. It can be anything. So,
last time I
but we
misread
can take opposite sex right now.
last time I misread a cue, I don't know. It has to have had been recent because that probably happens more than I'm willing to admit. So I would say maybe like 6 months to a year ago.
Okay. What do you remember what was happening?
No, I don't remember anything specific, but I know that there's been times where it's like looking back on things retrospectively, it's like, oh, that's what that was about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The last time you asked for your needs clearly, and what was it?
Probably about 2 to 3 years ago. And what was the second part of the question?
And what were you asking for?
One of the needs was to have a very equal distribution of decision making and communication regarding heavy topics like life decisions and things like that.
The last time a text message caused a misunderstanding between you guys.
Between me and my wife,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever happened. We've been together so frequently that a lot of our communication has not been text.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Yeah,
I can totally see that.
there's been very limited text communication over things that could create a misunderstanding. I mean, maybe like a grocery list type of thing, but that's about it.
Okay, okay. Because people who text often, they speak about this that because text completely takes out your tone and emotion from it,
Yes.
and that creates so much misunderstanding. The
Yes, I
last
can see
time,
that for sure.
yeah, the last time you danced in the kitchen or sang in the car.
Probably today.
Oh, cool. What were you singing or dancing to?
There's several songs that are on repeat in my head. One of them is by an artist named Terrian, and the song is called "With You."
Oh, so cool. So cool. The last time you asked for emotional reassurance.
Emotional reassurance, as in somebody understanding what I'm feeling.
Yes. Somebody
Um,
somebody telling you it's okay, that you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you.
I would say that the only one I go to for that would be my wife, and it's been a number of years that I have felt like I need that. So maybe 4 years ago or so. I'm not sure.
Okay. The last time you indulged in something you knew wasn't good for you.
Um, I don't think indulging and doing something reluctantly are quite the same.
Yeah. Indulging is
So
more like, eating foods that you know it's not good for you, but you like it. Once in a while, you go for it.
yeah, I definitely don't do that. However, probably on a 1 to 2 month basis, I stay up way too late being caught up in work or something. So I'm not necessarily indulging, but I know that I'm doing something that is not conducive to my health.
Okay. So, final one. The last time someone made you feel emotionally safe.
Um, I guess this week, my spouse is always an emotional safety net. And I would reword that a little bit based on my perspective on emotions, but I feel safe around my spouse constantly.
Awesome. Awesome. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And before we end this episode, one thing I wanted to tell the audience is that please make sure to check out the show notes. So to access their website, to access any resources that they have, and I'll be adding all their social media links down in the pinned comment description show notes, anything that's connected to this video.
great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure chatting with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.